Okay, uh, I'm doing this to highlight some stuff. I realize a lot of the information I have, because it was recorded off of an Android phone, will only work being played on an Android phone. I can't get it to play on anything else but an Android media player. So Windows Media Player or anything else won't work. It has to be done over an Android. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play several of these calls. Um, Now, before I even do that, I need to address something here. It doesn't show the number on some of these, but you can tell I'm calling the state police. Um, that whole call to the state police uh, is well, it's done to uh, well, it's pretty much on here to cover me. Um, I'm going to play everything in order. This is the March 6th of 2012. And you can see the date on here as well as hear the recording.
State Police, step on his hands up.
Yes, ma'am. I speak with Lieutenant Deeds.
Sure, hold on.
Yes, ma'am. I was trying to get hold of Lieutenant Deeds.
I don't know that he's here. Hold on just a minute.
Okay.
Sir, he must not be in the office. Want to leave a message?
Uh, yes, ma'am. That'd be fine.
Okay. Go ahead. Your name and phone number?
Oh, this is Ronald Collins. My number's 304-860-0878.
Ronald Collins?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
He had I needed to make a statement for him, and I needed to follow up on something with him before I sent him the official statement, particularly concerning the Blackberry curve.
Okay, I will have him call you, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Now, that's interesting because here we're going to play the next in line chronologically for this is well, it is March 20th of 2012.
Yes, ma'am. May I speak with Lieutenant Deeds? Sure. Lieutenant Deeds, this is Rowan Collins. I was going to see if he was going to be in, because I was just going to bring the little packet of information down to you myself.
Okay, yeah, I should be here. What time could you be back here?
Let's see, it's almost lunchtime, about 1 o'clock work, 1:30.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Okay, and like you said, I can still get a copy of everything that was on my computers.
Well, I mean, I can't give that to you. See, that's marked up in the evidence. I can't. I mean, you see what I'm saying? I mean,
Well, see, you told me I could get a copy of it, and that's why I'm asking about it now, because, I mean, if, you know...
You misunderstood me. I can't get the stuff out of evidence to give you a copy of it. I mean, you know, it's in a secure place. I mean, I don't even have access to it. And if it's a pending criminal case, that stuff, that's not for me to give out. I don't have the authority to give that out. The only person that can do that would be a prosecuting attorney.
Okay, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. See, I've been trying, right now I've been trying to get motions of discovery from the prosecuting attorney's office. I have my attorney to do it for the prosecuting attorney's office to get copies of that because there's evidence in there related to the trial I'm stuck with, related to Palmatier, Duckworth, and Efred and all them. And, well, prosecutor's office ain't coming off of it. They don't want to give me a motion of discovery. They don't want to give me my discovery material. So, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I just write them off as part of the whole damn thing, too. Because if y'all, I mean, look, if y'all had the evidence, if y'all, I mean, and you know as well as I do, if y'all got the evidence and there's something in there that can be used in my defense, you have to give it to me by law. But I ain't going to argue with you about it or discuss it on the phone. I'll come down and bring you to...
I agree with you. But I mean, I don't have the authority. That's only the prosecutor's office.
Okay, but no, I wrote out I think it's about 10-page. It covers pretty much everything. It gives you case numbers, stuff like that to look up on, so.
Sure. Okay, very good. Yeah, just try to get me between 1 and 1:30, okay?
Okay.
All right, thanks, sir.
All right, no problem. Bye-bye.
Now, that was the recording that was done before I delivered him that little packet of information. That's also the same recording that came from, or the same conversation that I recorded between me and Lieutenant Deeds, where we brought up the whole fact he threatened me with these child porn charges. In fact, I might actually put that up here. Well, if I do, I'll just edit this out.
Hey, how you doing? How you doing? You alright? I'm doing fine. Good. Here's the packet I told you about. There's a couple computer disks in there, one of which has the recording of Thomas Keller that I took when he was doing a interrogatory when he decided to insert himself in a lawsuit with me claiming that Trooper Efred came to him, where on the search warrant it says he came to Trooper Efred. There's another paper in here, as a matter of fact. It was, I actually sent it to the forensics lab in Charleston because I didn't know anything about down here, but it was signed and notarized regardless. That mentions the whole argument between me and him. That was back in May, this right here is image of me from Southern Regional Jail, mugshot from where Trooper Palmatier pretty much beat the crap out of me. It was taking like minutes after I got a big square block on the side of my head where he ran me into the steel pipe that was used to hold up the clothesline in my buddy's grandmother's backyard. I don't remember specifically. I have to look it up in here. I got all the dates and everything named in here, court cases, stuff like that. You'd be able to look up. You probably have to.
But the information should be in that written.
All the information is written down in here. Like I said, you should be able to find it and everything else. And mentions statement she's made under court, under record when the whole thing was appealed in second court, claiming that her mother's prosecutor and Trooper Duckworth basically coerced her, which she said that in open court under oath, and there's else I don't want anybody over here.
Well, there's really not much of it. We can go to here to topic.
No, it's out of work. There's a bunch of little evidence in that, and then in a unrelated issue that I'm having with through harassment from another police department. Right now, as it stands, I already have a recording of where I turned over exculpatory evidence to Raleigh County Prosecutor's Office.
Right.
They didn't want to accept the exculpatory evidence,
Right.
which,
Which agency was there?
Beckley Police Department.
Okay.
Includes, in which I even turned in evidence to a Captain Rogers at the Beckley Police Department in the whole affair because, well, my name was brought into it, but I wasn't mentioned by either the victim or the other witness or anybody else there. But everything was said where the cop said that I did this, or that cop in particular. And it's really interesting because one of the people who was accused of it, he wasn't mentioned in anything either. His brother was, but he wasn't. And they arrested him. None of the evidence points to him, and I've already been set up, so I'm doing everything I can to basically help him on it. The fact that I have basically had to force the Raleigh County Prosecutor's Office into accepting that evidence, and whether or not they turn it over to his defense attorney or either their defense attorney is going to come up under a matter of criminal action under the Raleigh County Prosecutor's Office.
Okay.
And I mean, flat out, to be honest with you, when we was talking on the phone, and you was making what I basically took as excuses to it, I really don't have a whole lot of faith in you really doing much of anything, to be honest with you. But in this whole situation where it involves, or at least in one case where it involves an FBI agent, namely Michael Hayden. It took me, about 6 years of trying to backtrack through the system and everything else to find this guy, and I just got lucky. I got all the information I needed in about 20 minutes. Found out who his real name was, that he lived in Princeton, West Virginia. There's only 3 FBI agents that handle southern West Virginia, and he was the only one he's been here for 10 years, so he's the only one that's been here in time for that whole little situation to manifest itself. So everything basically runs back to him. I've already called Pennsylvania and everything else. Now, I mentioned specifically that on the search warrant they never mentioned that USB card that's in the BlackBerry, which is one reason I was wanting a copy of the evidence, because if my pictures and everything else from the BlackBerry is there, then the USB card is there. If not, it was never mentioned in the search warrant as being part of with the BlackBerry. But it does say that the phone was taken with the battery in it, and the BlackBerry carries in order to get the USB card, the serial numbers, and all that. You got to actually take the battery out and play it with it.
Yeah.
So, and that statement that I sent to the Washington Forensics Lab back in, God, I think it was May. No, March. I'm sorry. I was right after my computer was taken right at the end of February of last year. March, I sent a thing up there talking about the evidence was taken based on the fact that the issue with me and Thomas Kelly. He's already been charged with molesting his son TJ, Thomas Jr. And I never really put much stock in it because nobody wants to believe that, somebody would do something like that, especially when you're related to him, until later on. There's also multiple issues with carrying car lock and everything else.
Right, but all this stuff is written down in here.
All this stuff is on here, and in fact, if I'm not mistaken, which I can't really tell you how I know this, but I got hold of an interesting little tidbit of information about as part of well, you remember the whole COINTELPRO fiasco a couple years back with the FBI where they were spying on U.S. citizens and everything else? Well, basically they've pretty much pulled the whole thing out of mothballs because of the war on terrorism and other stuff. There's a whole issue of bringing informants from out of state, or from one state bringing them into another through the FBI, and I basically know how it works out here in West Virginia. Pretty much, well, hell, we don't have states' rights here in West Virginia. The West Virginia Constitution, Article 1, pretty much cancels that out of the West Virginia State Constitution. But basically, like I said, all the information's there. All that's pretty much handled. The only real concern I have is that, like I said, I had evidence related to the thing with Ashley Redden, the new charges with her. And in fact, hell, you can just bring up the warrants as is and just tell there's all kinds of things wrong with it. First of all, both her statement, Leah Kirk's statement, was written by Trooper Duckworth on a plain sheet of copy paper. In the case of Leah Kirk's statement, it was put with an actual form, the actual form that, for the state police for taking statements, which they do Akron. In Ashley Redden's case, which came up a month later, and the only reason the charges for her were brought against me was because I was charged with assaulting a police officer based on the information given to Trooper Duckworth by FBI agent Michael Kaczynski, who doesn't exist, and a harassing phone call statement because I supposedly called the FBI threatening Duckworth and everything else. Now, the interesting thing to this is that when I had originally called the FBI, it was to get an investigation done on Trooper Duckworth. I had spoken to a lieutenant out here, and then pretty much he took a statement and everything got swept under the rug. Nothing came out of it, nothing got done. So, like I said, I really don't have too much belief that you're going to get much done yourself. It seems to be the whole idea of protecting each other, and that seems to be the thing going on. That's the way I look at it, the way I view it, and everything else. But on top of that, he threatened me over the phone. Specifically, he threatened to harm myself, Ashley Redden, and my mother over the phone to me. I know the calls were taped, so I don't think I told you this on the phone. I threatened him on the phone back, hoping he would bring charges against me because most of the stuff was the recording and show a nice little issue of conspiracy. You know, he called me back trying to get me to admit to threatening him, which I didn't do, and he called me back again trying to talk to me. I took the battery out of my cell phone at the time. Because of the GPS trackers and cell phones and all that. Basically doubled back, set up on the hill, and watched the Beckley police drive around in circles. So there's probably a dispatch report from from April 19th of 2006 for the Beckley police going back to the FBI. You know, all this is stuff that you can pretty much find just by calling people and asking. You really don't even need a search warrant. I mean, looking at court records and everything else, being copies, don't make any of that. You just go in, get copies of it, look at it, see what I'm talking about. And most of that's outlined, including the fact that the argument between me and Thomas Keller, you can look at court records to see where he has brought DVP on me for threatening to blow up the entire city of Beckley. I don't know how the hell I'd do that one, but I'm pretty cocky, but I ain't really I don't think I'm that cocky. Then when that didn't pan out, it became the terrorist search warrant. Then following that, it became involving himself in a lawsuit I had with my old landlord. And so it's been a constant process. Since y'all haven't charged me with terrorism and y'all done passed it up to the U.S. Attorney's Office here in Beckley, I have an interesting question as to why him nor Karen Carlock haven't been charged with making a false claim on false terrorist threat.
Yeah.
And then again, that goes back to the fact that according to Karen Carlock, she's an informant for Trooper Duckworth, and he's her buddy, and he'll cover up for her and everything else. She's also made a false police report about her ex-boyfriend, Ricky Posich, having child porn on his computer, to which his computer was taken. He came down here, put out paperwork and everything else for Trooper Duckworth. The computer was taken, no child porn was found on it, and it was given to Karen Carlock. It was never returned to him. So that in and of itself has an issue. I mean, there's, like I said, like I told you on the phone, there's a whole pattern of behavior here. And I mean, you can look at evidence, you can narrow it down to something small and say this incident, that incident, but it's an ongoing pattern of behavior. And in the case of Trooper Eford, he was the one who got the warrant on me for stalking Ashley Redden when she seen me at the mall and then went and made the statement that I was stalking her. Okay, well, I have a material witness to the fact that I wasn't. I seen her and told my friend who left to leave she was there. That was it. Which is the whole reason I was able to, they let me have a bond again on my bond revocation hearing, because she didn't agree to it, especially given the fact that there was a material witness there. So that issue in and of itself, on top of the fact that, you know, he's the one who gets the search warrant, and I don't really know what gets said back here, you know, when you guys are having coffees on your lunch breaks or whatever. And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of crosstalk that goes on without, well, I know there is. I've been in the military. I've been involved in operations and stuff, and I have uncles who are police officers. I know there's a lot of crosstalk. So I'm not really quite sure what's going on or to what extent.
That'll help you.
But
Let's have a drink before we put that too.
But that whole situation comes back rather odd, considering that the person who arrested me both times for warrants, even though he wasn't there to arrest me for the warrants, is coming back as volunteer. And like I told you with the whole Teresa Bowling shoot, and to be honest with you, I mean, in my personal opinion, when it was published in the newspaper that they knew that he was shooting guns around the kids and beating on his wife for 3 years and didn't do anything about it, y'all should have done their investigation. Well, I guess I go back to that pattern of behavior. You know, it's an ongoing process. Most of the information's there. Most of the relevant information that can be tracked down through court cases is there.
All right, well,
you should be able to find it within, like, less than, like, a week.
Okay, well, I'll take a look and see. You know, see if we see any violations or anything. Okay, I mean, that's all I can do, and go from there.
Well, put it this way: if you get a search warrant for my records from Sprint, particularly for that day in particular, you can already see the whole situation with me calling the FBI and then the FBI calling me back twice.
Yeah.
If you get the search warrant,
But you got arrested for that.
I got arrested for that, and they got dismissed as insufficient evidence.
Okay.
Due to the fact there was
that in state court?
That was, yes, magistrate court. In fact, the FBI agent who was reported for it, the name mentioned on the file was Michael Kaczynski, which ran into a problem, because either I'm telling you the truth about the whole me calling the FBI agent, in which case that is, you know, pretty much shows a conspiracy between Trooper Duckworth and Agent Hayden, or I'm lying, and either way, it still shows that a false name was given for a supposed FBI agent, and there was no records, no probable cause, no statement from an actual credible source. The FBI agent was never identified as an actual FBI agent. It was just some name slapped on a paper, which means Trooper Duckworth was falsifying evidence. And then you look at that with the whole pattern of what's going on with Palmatier, Eford, Thomas Keller, Karen Carlock, which oddly enough goes right back to Trooper Duckworth. Like I said, there's a whole pattern of behavior there. You can look at the evidence and see that, I mean, there's plenty of little indeficiencies. In the case of Ashley Redden, on her statement, it wasn't attached to a form. It was actually attached to the same form as Leah Kirk's statement, but it was taken 3 months later. And it was signed, instead of being signed down here, it was signed down like lengthways here across the edge of it. And from what I was told by Ashley Redden when she got in contact with me after I got off house arrest from the whole first incident, that because I basically caught her on it, because I told her it looked like what we had been through in the military, where, you know, they tell us not to sign even blank sheets of paper or anything like that, because somebody will write whatever they want on it, and then, you know, it's taken as a statement against us, and it's used in the UN War Crimes Court and everything else. And like I told her, it just didn't seem all that, how do I put it, didn't seem to make a whole lot of sense. More importantly, according to, and I have to actually cite the West Virginia codes on fraud violations, but in order for a official statement to be an official statement, it would either have to have the signature of the person holding office able to take that official statement, or the seal of the office. Ashley's statement was nothing more than something written on a plain sheet of copy paper, written by Trooper Duckworth, signed by her and her mother, with no signature of Trooper Duckworth, which pretty much meant that that wasn't a credible, I mean, it couldn't even be used as probable cause.
Well, let me take a look at this.
I mean, it's all mentioned on there.
Okay, yeah. There's something here. I'll go with it.
Okay.
Put that clip up. Now, next one we're going to look at is 10 days after. This one is a little bit interesting because this was after all the threats from DJ and Nathan. When Nathan tried to set me up using Rachel Farmer and all this other stuff, and that right there goes to show you where a lot of these people who are informants or related to informants are all working together and tied in with the police. We're going to listen to this conversation as well, and after this is about the time that Lieutenant Deeds stopped trying to communicate with me. This is when he started avoiding me, when I wanted to give him the additional evidence.
Yes, ma'am. May I speak with Lieutenant Deeds? Here, hold on. Okay.
Now, we all heard her say State Police, Mrs. Vandal, and we can see the date of the recording right here.
I wonder if I can let her go straight to voicemail yet. Maybe she just put me on hold. Yes, ma'am. I was trying to get hold of Lieutenant Deeds. They were supposed to transfer me there, but I guess they just put me on hold.
Lieutenant Deeds?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, let me take him. Hold on.
Okay.
and he hasn't called me to have me transfer it. It's a possibility that he's already left for lunch. Could I take a message and have him call you?
Yes, ma'am. Just tell him this is Ronald Collins, and I have an update on that report I gave him.
Update on the report?
Yes, ma'am.
And what's your name?
Ronald Collins.
I might not be hearing that right now. Would you spell it for me?
Ronald. And then yes, ma'am. And then my last name is Collins. Collins.
Okay. Sir, I will make sure he gets this message. Does he have your number?
Yes, ma'am, he should. If he doesn't, I'll go ahead and give it to you anyways. It's
Okay.
304 860
Okay.
0878.
Let me repeat that. 304-860-0878.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and that you put in the message, do you have an update on that report?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I will put that on his list.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Now, that was the 30th of March. We end up going to, the 4th of, the 2nd of April. This is when I finally managed to get hold of Lieutenant Deeds and talk to him. He was concerned about how I got all this additional evidence tying the people who set me up 6 years ago together, and the threats and everything else, which we discussed that down there. But let's listen to that now. And again, this was April 2nd, 2012. In fact, we'll...
Yes, ma'am. May I speak with Lieutenant Deeds? Here we go. Hold again.
State Police Lieutenant Deeds, how can I help you?
Lieutenant Deeds, this is Ronald Collins.
Right, how you doing today, Mr. Collins?
I'm doing okay. I figured I'd give you a little update on some information.
Okay.
Remember that little statement I wrote to you, how I mentioned a whole list of informants and they'd probably try to get a hold of me or come at me or anything like that?
Right.
Well, I already have that. Recorded incident of Rachel Farmer, Jessica Lilly, John Nathan Lilly, as far as I can tell. Which I should point out, all of them are related to every Lilly in the Sheriff's Department, Beckley Police Department. I'm not sure if you have any Lillys in your department, and Mary Jennings. Now, you can sit here and keep saying right, but you haven't really looked into any of that, have you?
As far as what?
As far as the information I gave you, the case files, the fact that a made-up FBI agent by the name of Michael Kaczynski was used as probable cause for my arrest by Trooper Duckworth, the fact that he is, I believe, a sergeant and in charge of various other state troopers in your detachment, which would pretty much mean that, he could issue orders to them and have them carry things out. Stuff like that. Well, either way, I just thought I'd go ahead and inform you of something. See,
Okay, sure. I mean, that's fine. I understand what you're coming from. Did you have like a recorded conversation with someone? I don't understand where you're getting this new information.
Oh, well, that's a combination of recorded conversations, Facebook messages, threats across Facebook, stuff like that. Including the fact that, well, if you go to John Lily's Facebook, you'll find a Michelle Jennings who happens to be a relative of Mary Ann Jennings, and Mary Ann is Mary Jennings' real name.
Okay.
Just to give you an idea, plus, all the bragging stuff they've done. You should also take into account the fact that I do believe Trooper Duckworth is related to Teresa Redden.
Bobby Redden, actually.
Well, there you go. It's public information. You can just as easily go and request it from up here in town. I mean, I could go in and do it myself, but you're an investigating officer, so it'd be a lot easier for you to get hold of it. Well, anyways, quite simply put, I'm trying to find out how much leeway you made in this, check on it, see if you investigated, looked into any of it, or what.
Yeah, I've contacted my sources at the FBI to see about any kind of agents that they may have had in this area.
Okay. And you've heard what?
Well, I mean, I can't tell you the details of the investigation as it's ongoing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's my point. The FBI agent is really outside of your chain of command, isn't he? I mean, you really have no pull when it comes to the FBI. In fact, the only people who do is the FBI. So, you looking into it, really, here's my point. I know for a fact there's no Agent Kaczynski. And I know for a fact that Trooper Duckworth stated in front of Mary Jennings, who all seem to be related, in some way, shape, or fashion, that he couldn't verify the identity of the FBI agent as an actual FBI agent. There was no evidence supported with it. So, in the meantime, you're looking at him fabricating and falsifying evidence.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Sure enough. I mean, that's I need to see what the FBI has to say about whether or not there was an agent or anything like that, and then I can talk to magistrate and the basis of it.
Well, unfortunately, you can't do it here in Raleigh County, being as Trooper Duckworth's related to Mary Jennings, and she works with all the other magistrates, and she's the head magistrate out there. So you're actually, in fact, to be honest with you, if I'm not mistaken, on a situation like that, because that would actually lead to a greater criminal conspiracy. Given, when you're talking about Palmatier and everything. Oh, incidentally, if you ever check the internet to look up the Teresa Bowling shooting,
I'm familiar with it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I haven't checked it recently.
Well, no, there's nothing new information on there. They're simply stating that Mr. Bowling's had contact, was abusive, brandishing a weapon and such in front of Trooper Duckworth, Palmatier, and a Deputy Galili. Amazing how those names keep coming up in all this, isn't it?
Well, and I mean, all that too. I mean, both that is something else. I mean, both those officers have been deposed and actually testified in court. As far as that goes, anyone can get those records, so to speak, as far as what their actual testimony was in the trial.
Well, there's also the fact that, with Trooper Duckworth being related to Ashley Redden, and the fact that they waited a whole, what was it, 3, maybe 6 months, I don't know, I don't have the paper here, before they brought Ashley Redden into the trial. And that didn't occur until the whole incident over the phone. which incidentally, I do have a copy of those phone records on the way. So I can go ahead and give you that, and then you'll be able to verify that, you know, there was calls made between me and the FBI field office.
Oh.
Well, and I mean all that too. I mean both.
Well, sorry, hit the button.
And something else. I mean both of those officers have been deposed and actually testified in court. You know, as far as that goes, you know, anyone can get those records, so to speak, as far as what their actual testimony was in the trial.
Well, there's also the fact that, you know, with Trooper Duckworth being related to Ashley Redden, and the fact that they waited a whole, what was it, 3, maybe 6 months, I don't know, I don't have the paper here, before they brought Ashley Redden into the trial. And that didn't occur until the whole incident over the phone, which incidentally, I do have a copy of those phone records on the way. So I can go ahead and give you that, and then you'll be able to verify that, you know, there was calls made between me and the FBI field office.
All right, well, very good, man. And, you know, just keep in touch with me, and I'll, like I say, you know, keep plugging along. And keep in mind, too, I've got more than just one open case, but I mean, you know, like I say, I can't do everything at once. But I am working on it in stages, okay?
Okay.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. And like I say, if you get any new information, drop it by or give me a call and drop
Well,
it by.
incidentally, the setup occurred after Rachel Former called me talking about how Jessica Lilly was making claims about my ex-girlfriend, you know, trying to stir trouble up and everything else, and I told Jessica that I really didn't, or not Jessica, but I told Rachel Farmer that I really didn't care, that most likely they were doing that trying to get me to go after Amanda, and I wasn't going to go after Amanda or do anything to hurt her or anything like that. And then I brought up the fact that both DJ and Nathan Lilly, and I know this from my association with them, but again, it's next to impossible to get a police officer out here to do anything, given who they're related to. Given the fact that as I told her that I knew both of them were essentially, by their own admission, having sexual relations with a 13-year-old girl who was the daughter of a guy who was dating their sister when she was 15, 16.
Yeah, I see your point.
Following that, they want to be friends and be cool with me and get me to come out there. And I told Rachel to have Jessica to call me to, you know, tell me everything was cool because I wanted to hear it from her. If not, I was just going to take it as a setup. And then I start getting threats from John Lilly over Facebook.
Well, now, who's Mr. Lilly with?
John Lilly? No one. He happens to be a relative of, I believe, he is a relative of Mary Jennings. He's also his family is also close personal friends with the Reddens and the Williams. In fact, I believe Teresa Redden's maiden name, which you can just as easily go to the courthouse and find this out by looking at marriage certificates. I believe her maiden name was Williams, which means she would be
It's Shambling.
Trooper Duckworth's partner.
Her maiden name is Shambling.
Who is married to Trooper Duckworth's wife. Or, I'm sorry, sister.
Alright.
Bobby Redden is actually related to the Williams
that's
family.
public knowledge because of the fact that that was publicized in West Virginia magazine, dealing with the fact, what was that what's that country group they have, Tailor Made, that, you know, that it was mentioned, and that his sister, that Trooper Duckworth's sister was married to his partner, Trooper Williams. something you're going to have to investigate, because when you're talking about all these people being in-laws and cousins and married into each other, it almost seems like an organized crime structure similar to the Italian mafia. I mean, I'm not an expert in law enforcement. I do have a few people that I've trained with that are in the criminal justice fields. So,
Well, let me, like I say, it is Monday morning, so I mean, I've got a lot on my plate this morning. So let me get some other work done, and like I say, that allows me to free up more time so I can look at your stuff, okay?
okay, no problem.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Now, I should stress at this point that I gave him false information intentionally. The whole Redden Williams thing. The Reddens and the Williams are intermarried. They're cousins, more or less. And Duckworth married into the Williams, so he was doing a favor for, Trooper Williams' cousin, cousin's wife, whatever. The Teresa Redden's maiden name is Shamblin. I know this. I've known this forever. Ashley told me this when she was 13. When she mentioned Shamblin, I was like, what? Because I thought Shamblin like, a zombie shambles brains. And as you can tell, I start mentioning criminal undertakings of these people. And then all of a sudden, everything gets bad. The Trooper Deeds, Lieutenant Deeds, starts covering up, trying to cover up the criminal activity of Magistrate Mary Jennings and the relation of the Reddens and the Kirks, and how all these people are associated with each other. In fact, there's a few more phone calls on here that deal with the fact that I couldn't get hold of him. And I called him twice on April 4th, trying to get in contact with him, and he avoided me. I called him once on April 5th, no response. I called him, didn't call him after that because I kept getting a runaround. So what happens is on April 10th, I had actually called him. I don't have that recording. I think my phone wasn't recording at the time when I called, or there's a problem with it. However, on April 10th, 2012, I called the Office of Professional Standards in Charleston, Captain White. Now, this recording is unique because it actually shows the phone number to Captain White's office. And I kept it that way for a reason. And as you can tell, the phone number is right there.
Thank you for calling Washington State Police. David speaking. How may we help you?
Yes, I need to speak with Captain White.
And you can see the date.
Please, may I have your name?
Yes, Ronald Collins.
4/10/2012.
May I try calling?
Because I would like to follow up on a complaint I lodged with him about his investigating officer.
Oh, please, I'll get you there. Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Captain White is not in his office at the moment. He just left my office a few minutes ago. May I have your number and I'll ask him to call you back.
My number's 304-860-0878.
860-0878.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll ask him to call you.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Can you please leave a very specific notation in that I'm complaining about Lieutenant Deeds' refusal to look at additional evidence? That's it.
Okay.
And if I don't hear hear back from today. I just launched a complaint with him with the superintendent of state police. Thank you.
You complained about Lieutenant Deeds refusing to look at the further evidence.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'll tell him.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Now, that's highly important because April 11th, the child pornography warrant was issued. And this comes up that they're trying to... This evidence in and of itself shows that they're trying to cover up for the wrongdoing of not only other police officers to harass me and threaten me, but how all these people are interrelated, almost like they're protecting this little area of organized crime. But it doesn't top off at Mary Jennings and Trooper Duckworth or Palmatier or any of them, because then you start going into the other little clout angle. And we're going to deal with that as well. But I want this video right here, just to have these recordings as record. I'm going to show them in court. In fact, I'm going to edit out, me talking, so it'll be pure evidence, pure recordings of what's on these. And I'm going to leave it at that because this is, far, far more important than just me, what's going on with me. Now it looks like there's a whole lot more tied into it because I've given, I gave Lieutenant Deeds the knowledge 6 days before I went to, 6 days before I went to Captain White. And I should point out that my conversation with him on the 4th, even counting the 4th as in this, that the 7th and 8th was weekends. Was a weekend, so he actually had 3 days in between that, 3 working days in between that to get hold of me, and he didn't. And I didn't. He had this knowledge, and now as a police officer, he is duty bound to report it to his superiors that there might be evidence of this, to get this evidence. Instead, he avoided me and told me, I can call back and find out whenever he can come in and everything else. Instead of saying, let's sit down and talk. And every time I've dealt with him, he's made excuses and tried to avoid me. The few times he does talk to me, he's kind of played everything out or ignored it or made excuses for everything. And in this case, he had knowledge. He had foreknowledge that this is the evidence, this is where all this stuff comes from. Now that conversation with Rachel Farmer, I'm not too sure if I recorded it or not. I think my phone might have malfunctioned when I recorded it. It might have, might not have. I don't really know. I don't really care, because just the fact that I'm saying that there's additional evidence of showing that magistrates and police officers are structured like an organized crime syndicate, and that they're tied into covering up other offenses, including, child pandering and child molestation and everything else. Here you have the West Virginia State Police protecting them. Protecting not only other cops, but magistrates and criminals and everything else who are associated, who are related to these cops. There you go, plain and simple. And then the day after I say I'm going to the Superintendent of State Police on Captain White, the arrest warrant is issued by Trooper Eford, which makes you come up to, an interesting little question here. Number one, was this the result of Captain White telling Deeds to do his job? Or number two, was this, Captain White telling Lieutenant Deeds to come after me? Or was it, something here? Because why would you get a second search warrant? And they said my computers and the evidence was in lockup, that it was there at the police station. That when he looked into it, he found it there at the police station. Which means the second search warrant, the October 26th search warrant for child porn, put that information back out, took it out of the forensics lab and put it in the police station. Why would you take evidence out of a forensics lab that has to be investigated by a forensics lab, only to get the search warrant, or only get the arrest warrant after someone threatens to go to your superior because you're not doing your job? And April 14th, I sent everything to the governor's office, which means we have to ask, what exactly is Governor Tomlin? And he has this recording and all this other information there. The forensics lab can very easily take it and use the proper media settings and play it on an Android phone. And I've even noted that in my little report to the governor's office. So what you have here is an issue to bring to mind these questions. And the fact that, magically, my lawyer, Mingo Winters, magically his office burns down, destroys a cell phone, an extra cell phone that I had, that the police didn't take, that had messages between me and Ashley, because it wasn't where they were looking for, that had these messages between me and Ashley at the time, and because this was a cell phone I bought after. You can tell because it says Verizon. I had a Sprint phone all the way up until all this bullshit started, and then I got a Verizon phone to get away from Ashley stalking me. But they took my BlackBerry, which was a Verizon phone, and everything else, and this was the phone I had to get after, so this was, not included in that terrorist search warrant. But the interesting thing about it is the phone that I had that showed messages between me and Ashley that we were talking, that we were, we'd argue, but then we'd, friends argue, especially in a stressed out situation we were, that we would argue and then we would, fight, and then we'd make up, and then we'd be cool, and then we'd talk to each other, and we'd be friends and everything else. It comes down to it that evidence was destroyed. Fine, you can get my phone records to show where she called me. We had my phone records to show where she called me, but magically the building burns down, and my lawyer makes excuses about getting those phone records. Doesn't want to get them, doesn't file subpoenas for them. Keeps trying to distract me with talking about the computer because I had evidence on the computer that would, the exculpatory evidence on the computer, which I made copies of and he didn't know about it. Which was tucked away and hidden somewhere. So, all that information is there. I managed to hide it and float it around, and to protect myself. And yet, somehow when they think the evidence is gone, they don't want to go after looking for more. And I'm sorry, that shows some sort of either criminal conspiracy or blatant favoritism towards, not caring if you actually committed a crime, but as long as they can get a conviction.
Yes, Williams' office. I don't know if you filed a motion or not, but the time for my computers of when it's gone's already been up for like a year.
The what?
The time, they've had my computers for over a year, my laptops has got the evidence and everything.
Well, we already filed the motion and it was denied related to computers.
Okay, but aren't they supposed to, if they have my stuff for over a year and still don't charge me, aren't they supposed to give it back to me at some point in time or something?
Well,
I mean,
part of the problem that we run into on is,
for a moment, I'll make this incompetence. Anyway.
I don't know that evidentiary issue specifically, but I can look it up. I agree with you. It's just giving them back to you on that. But there's no doubt about that.
Here's my problem. There's evidence on those laptops which help correlate to proving my innocence. The police took them under a supposed terrorist search warrant because I was allegedly going to blow up the entire city of Beckley. I don't know. I mean, I'm cocky, but I'm not that cocky. That whole thing in and of itself, their star witnesses to this happen to be my pedophile uncle and his snitch girlfriend who, on that BlackBerry they have, has a whole argument between me, her, and him where she's talking about her good friend at the Beckley Police Department, Greg. and she's made prior statements to how her and her friend Gregory Duckworth are buddies. Now, that's exclusionatory evidence. It points to conspiracy and everything else. My point is, I need it. They won't give it to me. They won't even give me copies of my files. If you look, I mean, the fact that it's there is there. I know that, lawyers don't like this shit from the bench, but appeal it if you have to. Take the motion to civil court, and hell, take it to the state Supreme Court. I don't care. The fact that they have my computers, they should have returned them to me lawfully since they haven't charged me with anything, shows that
when did they
the 25th, this month of last year.
February? We're still in February.
Yeah,
So
February 25th of last year.
2 days, 367 days.
Yeah. No charges have been filed against me. There's nothing on it. There's no plans to blow up Beckley, none of that. There's not even the security assessment I did years ago for security.
And that's what they were searching for on the computer.
No, supposedly they were searching my computers because of a terrorist threat to blow up Beckley, and they were looking for plans to do so.
And that's from where it began. Information that your uncle gave to them.
Well, what happened, and it wasn't even that. My uncle, me and my uncle had a dispute. He was brought up on charges for molesting my cousin TJ. I didn't believe it. No one in the family wanted to believe it. But when I ended up living with him, I ended up seeing some stuff coming from him that I really didn't like. It made me question that. So one thing led to another. I told him I was going to press charges against him. After that, him and his girlfriend, Karen Carlock, became involved in my lawsuit against Chipley. They went to the state of West Virginia and told them that, and according to this, on the warrant for the terrorism stuff, it says the state police officers involved, who are also the same state police officers involved in this case with Ashley Redden, went and said that Tommy came with him. According to Tommy, what he said on tape was that, which I don't have either because that was I taped him during an interrogatory for the whole situation for the lawsuit against Chipley, which that's on file with whatever for the court case. He said, I was so accused for false eviction, breaking into my apartment, having other tenants, handyman employees of him to harass me, a whole number of, it was just ugly. It lasted for almost years in front of Judge Burnside. And Judge Burnside actually congratulated me towards the end of it and said that I did a remarkable job of showing that there was a bunch of stuff that was messed up at the apartment, but I just didn't show any monetary damages for me, so he couldn't award me any money, but I basically won the case anyway. And then when my uncle and Karen Carlock became involved, they became involved first with the Chipley case. He went and got a DVP on me, said that I threatened to blow up Beckley and all this other stuff. When I went there for the DVP hearing, I didn't have any witnesses to call. It was just me against them. But they went in there and said that I threatened to kill my cousin Junior with a knife, that I threatened to blow up the entire city of Beckley, and there was something else to it, I don't remember. That I was in the kitchen stabbing stuff with a knife. And so when the judge asked me, did I ever threaten to stab my cousin with a knife, I said no. When she asked me if I ever stabbed the furniture or anything in the kitchen with a knife, I said no. When she asked me, was I ever standing in the kitchen with a knife, I was like, well, yeah, plenty of times, because I usually cook with a knife. When I'm cooking steaks and stuff like that, instead of sitting there and trying to have, one thing to flip it with and a knife to cut it to keep this done, I just use a knife for the whole thing. And then when Karen Carlock went in there, she said that she told him that, and then said I was chasing somebody up the road with a sledgehammer, threatening to kill him, and all this. Just added a whole bunch of stuff to it. The judge said that the evidence was not credible on their part and dismissed the DVP against me. when I originally didn't show up for the first DVP hearing because I was in jail because of this Ashley stuff and I had no evidence, my mom went up there and filed the thing for me to get it extended. That's when Tommy and Karen went to the state police and told them the same thing. Then they came and took my computers and everything else under a terrorist search warrant.
Well, here's what I'll do. I'll file a renewed motion to compel the release, and I'll put that information in there, that the state police have had this information, or had these computers for
I'll tell you what,
more than 1 year.
Put one other thing in there, and I really seriously want you to do this. In fact, if you don't want to do it, go ahead and remove yourself as my attorney. I want you to put in there very specifically, can you subpoena the interrogatory from the Chipley case? Because the interrogatory from the Chipley case has my uncle, Thomas Keller, stating that the state troopers came to him, whereas the warrant for the terrorist search warrant says that Tommy came to them. So either the cop's lying or my uncle's lying. Either way, if the cops are lying, that pretty much tears out their case. If Tommy's lying, then that pretty much kills him as a witness.
Who's Chipley's lawyer?
He had 6 different ones. The last one he had worked for, thinking of, it was Nationwide Insurance. It was insurance. Yeah, Nationwide Auto.
Well, I don't know for sure if I can do that or not. I'll do some research.
I mean, well, what I'm saying is this: the evidence, as it shows right there, is enough to come up to make the argument that it's exculpatory evidence that possibly shows a biased investigation and falsification of evidence. That you can even say that that's what that you don't feel that way, but that's what the client is.
It's outside the scope of our case. It's the one that I represent you on.
No, it's not.
It is as far as the factual scenarios that would convict you if you are so convicted.
Okay, here's the problem. This is what I'm saying. You're saying outside the factual scenarios. What factual scenarios? The factual scenarios that I have a girl stalking me, Ashley Redden. Okay, what girl gets up there in court and claims she thought someone was going to rape her, then changes her story on record in civil court when it's appealed to civil court and says she didn't think that until her mom, the prosecutor, and the cop kept telling her that. The same cop, I should point out, Palmatier, also made a statement in the Teresa Bowling shooting that him and Duckworth were really good friends and that he was aware of the guy who shot his wife in the head was pulling guns on the kids and everything else. That violates his duty. Okay, here's the problem. This is what I'm saying. You're saying outside the factual scenarios. What factual scenarios? The factual scenarios that I have a girl stalking me, Ashley Redden. Okay, what girl gets up there in court and claims she thought someone was going to rape her, then changes her story on record in civil court when it's appealed to civil court and says she didn't think that until her mom, the prosecutor, and the cop kept telling her that. The same cop, I should point out, Palmatier, also made a statement in the Teresa Bowling shooting that him and Duckworth were really good friends and that he was aware of the guy who shot his wife in the head was pulling guns on the kids and everything else. That violates his duty to report the fact that the cop, that it was brought up in that case because it was in the newspaper, that when he shot his wife, he specifically asked for Duckworth and Palmatier. Then you're going to tell me that that State Trooper Efred, who got me on this terrorist search warrant crap, who's also named as one of the people who on the warrant for me because of actually stalking me, or I'm sorry, me supposedly stalking her, is also the one that comes here to get me for my terrorist search warrant. The recording of Karen Carlock talking about how she's basically buddies and an informant for the state police. The fact that this terrorist search warrant says that my uncle came to them, whereas my uncle said under a different in a different situation under oath that they came to him. Either way, one of the two is lying. And if he's the witness and he's lying, then that kind of throws everything out of court. If the cop's lying, then and my uncle's not, then that kind of looks like a biased investigation, more of an inquisition. That goes back to the whole fact that basically I'm being harassed by these police officers.
Do you know what year you filed your case against Shipley?
See, no, I don't know off the top of my head. But
was it against?
It was Ronald Collins versus West Virginia LLC.
West Virginia.
Yeah. He had a LLC, so I couldn't go against him specifically. I had to name the LLC.
West Virginia spelled out or WV?
WV.
LLC.
Yeah. He had 6 different lawyers. Most of them came in. As soon as they came in, they tried the same excuse for, we're an LLC and he can't sue us and he can't do this and he can't do that. And like the subsection of the code they were quoting and all the stuff they were hollering, there's this little subsection D in there that said, all these steps of what I'm supposed to do of applying it to the state treasurer and everything else because of the LLC thing does not prevent me from being able to take someone to court. So every time they'd come in, every time I'd mention that little subsection D, which kind of threw out the whole, I don't have to do it, but it's a good idea for me to do it type situation of the code. And then Shipley would fire him, hire another lawyer, they'd come back and make the same argument.
Well, what I'll do is I'll go up and figure out who his lawyer was then. And you think, was it in a
something.
Was it in a deposition or was it in an interrogatory?
It was an interrogatory.
So a written document?
No, it was recorded by a court recorder.
Okay.
And then I had a little music player that had a record button on it that I had recorded, which is also something that was taken in the thing. And that's an important one because during the time that Ashley Redden was in contact with me, she was in contact with me when I was on house arrest through Teddy Massey and his girlfriend at the time, Ashley May. And then Ashley May started seeing Ashley Redden as a threat because Ashley May was wanting to try to hook up with me, and I didn't want to hook up with her because I just didn't like her like that. So she started trying to do things to cause arguments and conflicts between me and Ashley Redden. And that exploded into a whole other situation. We had a big fight, and then we just went our separate ways. And I was cool with that up and until I had 3 guys coming threatening to kick my ass because Ashley told them I raped her.
Okay. Well, let me, I'll run over to the clerk's office and try to find that case and try to find some evidence as to it may even be in file. I don't know. Because,
this is ridiculous. For one, I write books on martial arts and stuff. I've published several of them. And, okay, fine. I actually wrote a book on, it was an examination of modern terrorism. It talks about how, I didn't mention the formulas that were used to make anything, but I talked about the mechanics of how certain bombs were designed and stuff like that for the sole purpose of, and it was written primarily for military law enforcement types, security people. You pick it up and you get to sit there and look through and see how certain situations apply, how certain tactics are used by certain groups in certain ways. It was written kind of half as a how-to in a halfway in a how-to format, for the simple fact that it was written that way to basically, and I even went into the psychology of it and everything else. I didn't have it published in my name because I thought there would be kind of some issues. It was just published under anonymous.
Okay.
But I have royalty check statements from my publisher that shows where I'm getting royalties for the books themselves.
Okay.
You do get royalties from?
Yes, I do. Not a lot, because all of this has basically just been destroying my character publicly, and I can't really do anything with it. And I didn't publish it as anonymous because of that, but even my martial arts stuff doesn't sell that much because this is tearing down my character. It's character assassination. They're covering up evidence. They're hiding evidence. When I gather evidence to defend myself, they're taking it away from me and then trying to claim that I committed a crime. Then when they're supposed to give it back to me, they're not giving it back to me under whatever pretense. Look, I've already been handcuffed, had the living shit kicked out of me. I've had stuff stolen from me. I've literally had 2 books of mine taken out of my car, which were never recorded as objects taken from me by the police. One was the history and traditions of the martial arts fraternity, which I'm a part of. Another one is a book on a kata that we all have to be able to do as members of that fraternity. Both of those books were taken out of my car by State Trooper Duckworth, and not Duckworth, by State Trooper Palmatier and by State Trooper Moore. None of that was recorded. I was never given a receipt. It was never put into my stuff. They just took them. Now, they're going to take my computers because of terrorism. Okay, well, fine. You know what? Fuck the terrorism bullshit. They want to make a terrorist. They're working on damn sure doing it. Because not only am I pissed the fuck off, tell me calm down when you've done this for 6 fucking years. When you've woken up with like a gun to your head for 6 fucking years because every time you turn around, somebody wants to fabricate evidence against you and hide behind a fucking badge. Look, I swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution of the Constitution of the United States government against all enemies, foreign and domestic. I have been really fucking good about keeping my temper. Compared to what I can do, yeah, you know what, I probably could well, I don't know if I could blow up the entire city, but I could damn sure do a lot of damage. I've trained with guys who train special forces units that make Navy SEALs, and our guys look like fucking Girl Scouts. I've trained with, Frank Dukes, who helped write the Navy SEAL Spec Warfare Manual. I've trained with guys who were operatives for the CIA. I've trained with guys who train SWAT teams. I've trained with guys who are federal marshals or grandmasters that train their hostage rescue teams and everything else. The stuff they know, I know. I might not have some nice little school degree that says I graduated from some academy or whatever that gave me that. But my ability to train with these people, I've milked every opportunity that I can. The fact that I took my ninjutsu training and modernized it by adding my infantry training to it, that's why I got my 6-degree black belt for it. And you could look it up on your computer. Just type in Fort Walton Beach. It's the whole Fort Walton Beach thing with us at the bottom little of the picture, 2010, October 2010. I'm down there with guys who are legends, guys they make movies about. And I can't do anything with it because every time I turn around, I'm getting arrested for some bullshit. I'm getting harassed. Now, I really don't give a fuck. I've done enough evidence, gathered enough evidence to make the point that I can prove that these people haven't done a single goddamn thing legally, that they're covering up evidence and hiding it. Even the court records show that as is. Fine. Here's the deal. Where do I go from there? How about I just take it all, let's just throw it all out on the internet and say, here, let the whole fucking world see it, and then deal with it from there, because that's exactly what I'm looking at. I'm not finding a single... I have evidence that shows that she was in contact with me. I have witnesses who really don't like me at the moment, but they can vouch for the fact that she was in contact with me after Judge Hutchinson told her not to. Her own statements up there in front of Judge Hutchinson said that she didn't believe I was going to do anything to her until her mom, the prosecutor, and the cop told her. It's public fact in the newspaper that Duckworth and Palmatier are best buddies in the whole world. That a guy who shoots his wife in the back of the fucking head calls them immediately, which probably most likely means that's because he's expecting them to cover up for him because they've done it in the past. Now, you want to throw into that any number of the fact that my uncle went in there and said, no, the cops approached him. He didn't approach the cops. He wasn't maliciously coming at me under oath during the interrogatory. But the cop's search warrant says that my uncle came to them. Either way, whoever's lying, I don't care. If it's my uncle lying, then he's the witness they base their probable cause on, and I owe the cop an apology. He's not a corrupt asshole.
I understand what you're saying.
However, if the cop's the one lying about it, then you know what? He's a corrupt asshole, and I don't owe him a fucking apology. This is causing me a great deal of mental and emotional stress, and I'm not completely there to begin with. I know that.
What's your address?
P.O. Box 597, MacArthur, West Virginia. And that's another thing. The day that I was, before you were given to me by the state of West Virginia as a lawyer, the lawyer I had before, I can't remember her name, as a female. You could probably look up the motions to get her name. When my best friend, Donnie McCoy, who was a witness for me, in the fact that Ashley Redden seen me at the mall, I told him we needed to leave, and then she went and told the police I was stalking her. I looked at her mean and followed her around the mall, which was complete bullshit.
I know that.
Alright, he sat there and talked to her in the lobby of the magistrate court. Told her that his mom is the, his aunt, who's his stepmom, is the head bartender at Morgan's. Not long after that, Ashley Redden quits her job at Walmart and gets a job working as a housekeeper at the hotel attached to Morgan's. I got proof of that. I think I showed you a picture of it or something at one point that was sent to me.
And part of our order to show employment records.
Well, my point is this. How is it you're going to talk to my best friend, find out where his mom works, and then try to get a job right there? That's not her. That's not me stalking her. That's her stalking me.
What's the zip in McCarthy?
25873.
What's your phone number?
304-860-0878.
All right. I got to get ready for a divorce hearing I got in the morning.
All right.
I'll work on the motion and...
Because flat out, everything, you can look at it, and there's enough circumstantial evidence in court documents alone to show corruption, bias, all. Hell, you can go back to the original case and see where an FBI agent who doesn't exist, Michael Kaczynski, told Duckworth that I apparently was going to go kill a bunch of cops, including him, and there was no recording of it. No, I can tell you flat out that it is the federal standard, because it was the federal standard in the military, and it's the federal standard even with the FBI and everything else. I know this because I've worked with FBI and stuff when I was doing my counterterrorism training. I have an uncle who was trained in Quantico. I know the federal SOP. The federal SOP is that any calls coming into a law enforcement agency are recorded. They are recorded for the safety of the FBI agents and the people calling in those calls. Because if somebody calls in and they're calling in a bomb threat, and they're calling in a bomb threat at, saying they're going to blow up something at an airport, and you hear a subway in the background, it helps you locate subway terminals near airports. Or at least look towards subway terminals because you hear that train running in the background. It gives you that information.
Sure.
Okay, how come no such report was filed, or no such recording was filed along with the claim of the threat I made? I mean, that right there would have been probable cause. That would have been lock, stock, and barrel. That wouldn't have just been me threatening a cop. That would have been terrorism and a number of other things that could have hit me on. No, it didn't happen. Instead, this Michael Kaczynski guy, when I go finding out and investigating 6 years later, never existed. The only FBI agent with the name of Michael who's in this part of West Virginia, who's been here for the past 10 years, is Michael Hayden.
Well, let me file a motion, man.
So, I mean, I'm telling you, there's a mountain of circumstantial evidence that vouches for this. I mean, this is throwing my career off track because of stuff I've wrote, research I've done. I was working on a book called Street Soldier, all right? The whole purpose of this book was comparing street gangs. I used very specific ones as the basis, Aryan Brotherhood, Black Guerrilla Family, stuff like that. The idea behind it was that these gangs, which are the ones that are known to push what they refer to as prison-based martial arts, were using the whole prison-based martial arts concept as a line of, I don't know how to explain it, a line of crap for paramilitary training. The Black Guerrilla Family was originally trying to overthrow the U.S. government from inside the prison system by training violent offenders to be more violent, more professional in their violence. They used some excuse about an ancient African slave art that was brought over to America. Okay, that's possible because there's capoeira, which was brought over here that way. However, they kind of sprinkle a little bit of untruth in with it just to get the attention of people, to make them think, oh, well, you got to go hate white people. It's no different than the KKK or anything else. I brought this up. In fact, if you check the internet, go to worldwidedojo.com, you'll find an article written by me that has my picture at the bottom of it.
Your name?
Yes. My name, Ron Collins, my picture at the bottom of it. And it's a picture that's sold from where my books are sold on Dojo Press, talking about how prison systems and martial arts or prison-based martial arts and prison systems are used as a way for criminals to network, to get together, for younger criminals who don't know anything to get around older criminals who do have experience, to teach them to learn things, and how these gangs who push this prison-based martial arts stuff do so as a way of recruiting people. The higher you get in standing with the gang, the better you get in standing with the gang, the more they teach you. the more rank you have, based on the more knowledge you have. Because and it talks about how even from childhood, when you're talking about the lower class, violence is seen as a form of power.
And you wrote a book on it?
I was working on a book on it when my computer was taken. I don't know where the hell I started off and left at, but the article is on worldwidedojo.com.
I'll look it up.
And I mean, like I said,
Let me file a motion.
well, like I said, include all the little circumstantial facts that I've already told you that can easily be verified. And there, I mean, just that right there should be enough to get basically just light a fire into somebody's ass that, okay, fine, we're looking guilty, do something with it.
All right, man.
All right.
See you.
Bye.